Hey friends, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sean Marie. Here on my channel, I show you how I navigate through my insanely crazy life as CEO of my household, sharing all things homemaking with you, and I am so happy you are here. Welcome back to another edition of the Canuary Chronicles, from my little vintage kitchen to yours. I am very excited for today's canning expedition. With St. Patrick's Day coming up, it obviously got me thinking about the delicious corned beef meal that we enjoy every single year, and it reminded me that I know how to can this up and that I haven't done it since last year. And I said, you know what? This is the perfect thing to share with all of you amazing people. So today we are going to be canning up an amazing, complete, altogether corned beef dinner ready to go in the jar. How fabulous does that sound? This is going to be a great addition to your pantry shelves, and you can have it any time of the year that you want, not just on St. Patrick's Day. So I wanted to know a little bit more about St. Patrick's Day, so I did a little research, as I usually do, and I actually found out some interesting facts. St. Patrick's Day is an Irish holiday celebrated by the Roman Catholic Church. It's the Irish Saints' feast day honoring St. Patrick. That's where it gets its name from, I guess. Now, this has been going on since about the 9th century over there. But the fun fact that I learned is the tradition of having a corned beef dinner didn't come from Ireland. That's actually an American tradition that we did to celebrate the Irish and enjoy their food on their particular holiday. I had no idea. Now, St. Patrick's Day always takes place on March 17th and is usually celebrated in our household by wearing something green and cooking a corned beef meal. Now, the corned beef meal can be a little tedious, and quite honestly, it can be a little smelly with the cabbage, in my opinion. So I don't like making it all the time, but having one day where you can make it all, can it, and get it away is perfect for me and exactly what I'm looking to do. Now, the actual term corned beef doesn't describe the taste of the meat, obviously, and I couldn't figure out where it came from, considering it's a beef brisket that we use. So once again, I just had to look into it a little bit more, and this is a fun little tidbit. Corned beef got its name from the way that it's cured. It is a beef brisket that's cured with salt. However, it's the size of the salt that gave it its name. Instead of it being tiny little granules of salt to preserve the meat, the pieces of salt were more like the size of corn kernels, thus giving it the name corned beef. Who knew? How silly is that? So today I am going to show you how you can keep this on your pantry shelves year long and enjoy it on other days besides St. Patrick's Day. It truly is a wonderful, flavorful addition to your pantry. I like to make my own spice packets. That way I can control what spices go in and how much of it, and I think that is just fabulous. And I am super excited for this one because for this particular recipe, I get to bust out my mortar and pestle. I love my mortar and pestle. I don't use it often enough, but I do enjoy it when I do use it. Kind of makes me feel like I'm connecting to the old ways like I used to watch my great-grandmother do. So, without further ado, let's head on down and get the kitchen shenanigans underway. You guys are gonna love this. This is about a 6.5 pound beef brisket that I had down in my freezer from the cow that we purchased. And basically what I'm going to do is cut it down into manageable strips that are about an inch wide, because there is a big fat layer on the bottom of this that I want to remove. Flavors in the fat, but this is too much fat on there, and I do not want that in my jars. It's not good for the canning process. So we're definitely removing that and cutting it into chunks. One thing I want to point out is I did listen to you guys and I got myself another pair of kitchen shears specifically for fat trimming. And oh my goodness, how easy is that? Our meat is now cubed. They're about inch sized pieces. I like to do them a little bit on the bigger side because when you pressure can with meat, it actually breaks it down and makes it super tender. So I like to keep the pieces a little bit bigger so it holds its form a whole lot better. All of this wonderful fat that we have, I am actually going to label it, and this is going to go in the freezer. And this is going to make a fabulous beef base when I want to make more of my beef stock. We never throw your scraps away, always freeze them. Next, we are going to work on these lovely potatoes. I have some nice red skin potatoes. I am going to leave the skin on, however, I am going to wash them up good. And if I see any bad spots, such as this, I'm going to remove it from the potato. I'm going to dice them up and I'm going to put them in a cold bath with a produce protector. I'm actually going to use Ball's produce protector. This keeps the potatoes from getting brown. I'm going to give them 2 to 3 baths and change the water each time. This helps to remove the level of starch in the potatoes and keep that starch out of the water. It's just something I like to do. It's not a necessary step, but I have this, so that's what we're going to get going. I'm going to add some of that produce saver. I'm just going to cut off any bad spots that I see and then dice them up. Now I'm just going to dice up my potatoes. Get my potatoes in the water, and what I do is I just kind of give them a little shake up, if you will. Swish them around a little bit. And then using a strainer, and I'm going to go for bath number 2. Add some more produce protector. I don't measure my produce protector, I just dump some in. And add my potatoes back. And again, we're just gonna stir them up, let them sit, let that starch work its way out of there. I typically do this when I can straight up potatoes. I don't want the water to be cloudy in there. I like it to be clear and see my potatoes nicely. But I also do like to remove all the extra starch that will come out while processing, and this is the best way to do that. So this is bath number 2. I'm actually going to do it one more time and then they're ready to go. I've got some amazing carrots that I picked up from our local farm. I'm actually going to peel the carrots. Just don't like the skin on the outside when I'm canning. I don't mind eating the skin if I'm cooking with it, but for canning purposes I do like to remove the outer parts of the carrot. So I'm going to peel the carrot and then I'm just going to slice them up into like 1-inch pieces. We have our carrots all diced up and ready to go. Potatoes, this is their 3rd and final bath, so they are ready to go. I have my scrap bowl. This is going to head over into my compost pile. I'm actually only going to slice up a little bit of the cabbage because one thing I've learned from making this dish before is the cabbage can become a very overpowering flavor in the jar. I'm adding a very tiny amount into each jar so that it doesn't overpower the flavors of the brisket and the potatoes and the carrots and the garlic, everything that's going in there. So I'd rather be on the safe side and go less. If you want more cabbage when it's time to serve it, you could always make more. For me, cabbage is not the part of the dish that I like. I like the flavor in there a little bit, but I don't eat the cabbage, so this is perfect for me. As I always do, I'm going to inspect my jars, my lids, and my rings. I'm going to wash them all in some nice hot soapy water and give them a really good rinse as well and set them off to the side to dry. This is a cold pack recipe, so there is no need to keep water in the jars and keep the jars warm. First thing we're going to do is we are going to mix up our own spice packet. I'm sorry we're going to hear people walking above us. I am down in my little vintage kitchen. It's just the way it is. I'm going to take my own spices for this, and I'm going to use my mortar and pestle. I am not trying to pulverize these spices. I just want to kind of break them up to open them a little bit, make them a little bit more fragrant in the broth that we are going to create for this dish. Have you ever used a mortar and pestle before? My grandma taught me how to use it. She used to mash all of her herbs this way, and I love it. Kind of makes me feel like I'm connected back to the old ways. Now, don't worry about the measurements. Once again, I'm going to put in the description the link over to my blog for the printable version of this, so you can print it right off and have it to enjoy. So don't worry about grabbing a pencil or a pen. Just grab yourself your favorite beverage and get comfy. I'm going to add some coriander. I'm going to add some peppercorn. I like to get the peppercorns that have all the different colors in them. Just going to add some of that in there. Some mustard seeds. I'm going to add a little anise seeds. I don't like a lot. I'm not a big fan of licorice, so I tend to go a little bit milder with those. And we're going to add some red pepper flakes. Not a lot, just a little. All of those gorgeous, beautiful spices in there, and I am literally just going to, I'm not trying to grind them, I'm just trying to crack them. I want to crack the peppercorns a bit, crack those mustard seeds. I can already smell the fragrance of this. It is just divine. Look at that. Alright, I've got my stock pot on the stove. Into this I am going to add some of my homemade bone broth. This is a beef-based bone broth. This is not a chicken base. Put in there. I'm also going to add a pale ale. Whatever kind you want. Just a pale ale, not a stout. Guinness is a stout. We don't want that. So make sure it's a pale ale. Again, don't be afraid to cook with alcohol. You are going to cook all of the alcohol right out of this beer. So nothing to worry about. And I'm also going to add in all of the herbs that we crushed up a little bit to release that fragrance. All of those delicious spices in there. This just makes an absolutely fabulous flavor for your corned beef, and I like using my own organic spices and not just buying a pre-made spice mix, which you absolutely can buy one. McCormick makes one, Ball makes one. There's just several other brands. I prefer to make it myself using all organic spices. So I'm going to actually bring this to a boil. I'm going to let it boil for a minute. I'm going to reduce it, and I'm just going to let it simmer for a few minutes, and I'm going to shut it off. And while that is all coming together on the stove, I am actually going to separate up some garlic bulbs. I'm going to turn them into individual cloves, removing all of the skin, and I have a super easy tool to use to do that with. Let me show you. This is a garlic peeler, and it removes the skins perfectly. I actually believe I saw this on Acre Homestead. I believe Becky had one, and I was like, oh, I've got to get one of those. How easy is that? Watch how easy this is if you've never seen this done. So you take it, put a garlic clove inside, and just go like this. And look at that. It's seriously completely peeled. Nothing is left. The skin is gone. How easy is that? Do it again, another one inside. Gone. I think this is like the best invention since sliced bread. So now that our garlic is done, I have my jars. Again, I'm going to use my wide mouth quarts only because it's easier to get all of this out with. You can use a standard size, but quarts are much easier. So what I'm going to do is to each jar, I'm going to add 1 bay leaf and 1 garlic clove. This is all done. I am shutting this off. I'm just gonna let this sit. I'm gonna let it cool down just a little bit because we are doing a raw pack in our jar, and this is going to be ladled over the cold meat and the cold vegetables. So I'm gonna let it cool down just a little bit before we get going. So everything is done and ready. Now it's time to start layering our jars with the different ingredients, and we are gonna actually start with our brisket. We are going to get like a nice big old cup of brisket into each of these quart jars. Make sure you have a jar funnel. It just helps get everything in there. And once you get your meat in your jars, you kind of want to tamp it down a little bit. Now we are going to get our potatoes in the jar as well. So we're going to do about a nice heaping cup of our potatoes. Again, we're just going to tap that down gently. We're going to add our carrots. Now you'll remember I told you cabbage can be very overpowering in this, so I am literally adding just a little bit at all. I'm just shredding a little few pieces up, and we're going to top them on the top. I do not want too much cabbage flavor in there. Now I'm just going to add about a tablespoon of minced onion onto the top of each jar. Now we are actually going to ladle our broth into the jars. We're going to leave 1 1/4 inch headspace. I'm going to debubble, and then I'm going to readjust, leaving a 1 inch headspace. Debubble, that's definitely going to go down. See all those bubbles coming up? Readjust it back to that 1 inch headspace, just like that. And take our vinegar, clean the rims and the sides real good. Rotate your paper towel if you need to. I like to rotate mine. And put our lids on. And our rings. We're going to dump our extra vinegar right into that canning water. Now this is cold, well, it's tap water, it's warm tap water. This has not been preheated, this is not ready. Everything's going to come to temperature together, so we're going to put our jars in here now and get this show rolling. It smells so good in here. That liquid that we created to go in there with the beer and the bone broth and the spices that we crushed up and put in there, it just smells amazing. This is going to be so good. Let's get our jars in. Got 6 quarts in the pan, and we're going to bring this to temperature now. So good. Have you ever canned up a corned beef dinner before in a jar? This takes the hassle out of preparing the whole thing on the stovetop, boiling your corned beef, doing the potatoes, doing the cabbage, doing the carrots. This is all done in one whack, and I can literally just go over to my pantry, grab that jar off, heat it up, and it is ready to go. And it is so good. So good. There's nothing like a beautiful meal in a jar. And that's exactly what this is. You have your meat, you have your potato, you have your vegetable, you have some great flavoring. You have a great meal ready to go. Who says that busy nights have to be fast food junk or bland? They don't, with gems like this in your pantry. All right, our water is now hot. So we're gonna take our lid. I'm gonna lock that right into place. It's gotta push all that air out. It's gotta come to pressure. We need to see our steady stream of steam. All right, you can see that it's venting really good. So I am going to set my timer for 10 minutes. When the 10 minutes is up, I will put my weight on. I'm going to wait for it to come to my PSI. Mine is 11. You need to know your PSI. That's based on your elevation. And if you are unsure what your PSI is, Google it. It'll tell you exactly what number you should be pressure canning at. Once it gets up to that point, I'm just going to let this process for an hour and a half for quarts. If I was doing pints, it would just be an hour and 15 minutes. And when it's all done processing, I'll bring you guys back. I'm getting kind of hungry. Canning makes me hungry. Does it make you hungry? I'm starving again. I gotta go find something to eat. I don't know if Bath and Body Works still has this candle, but this scent is amazing. The timer has gone off. We are done. I'm gonna shut that off. We're gonna let our pan come down to 0. No more pressure in there. When the gauge reads 0, it's safe to open it. And I am actually super excited to let you guys know that I have figured out my electric stove for canning. My canning number for holding my PSI once it gets there is the number 3 on the dial. So I'm in my element at 3. How about that? Can I just say, and I know I say this all the time too, let me just say, this smells so good. It smells like dinner time on St. Patrick's Day, and I cannot wait to get one of these jars in my belly, because I haven't had any for a while. I haven't made this for a while. I don't know. I think if you was to go buy like a 7-pound brisket or something, it might be around like, I don't know, $50. But break that down into how many quarts or how many pints you get out of it, and like, it's totally worth it. This is less than $10 for a meal for Scott and myself with leftovers, and it's a complete meal. It's ready to go. I just have to heat it up, and I love the unexpected on my shelf. I'll see you guys back down here when this is at 0. Okay, the pressure's gone from it. Our little seal in the front is down, which lets us know there's none in there. There's no steam coming out. I've removed my weight. And now, as always, we are going to open this away from our face. Be careful of the condensation on the inside. That will drip off, which is why I'm tipping it into the pot. You don't want to burn yourself with that. Let's get these jars out. Smells scrumptious. Look at that. Look at that one. Did you hear that? They're sealing. And the last one. You can really see the meat, the potatoes, the carrots. Oh, if you guys could smell this. My Lord, my Lanta, my Lord. This is so good. I cannot wait to eat this. I think this is tomorrow night's dinner. I really do. It's so good. Today we canned up some Luck of the Irish, and you are going to be very lucky having this on your shelf. It is a fabulous meal in a jar, and it's not just for St. Patrick's Day. You can now enjoy it whenever you want. That's the best part of it. And once again, as per how I like to do it. It is an unusual and unexpected delight to have on your pantry shelves. Full of flavor, completely ready to go. Does it get much better than that? No. We all know it doesn't. Once I am able to touch them, I'm going to remove the rings from them. I'm going to leave them overnight on the counter and check them in the morning to make sure the seals have in fact sealed. If anything hasn't sealed, it can go in the refrigerator, be used up within the first 5 days, or you could reprocess it. I'm not going to repeat myself, you all know how I feel about reprocessing it. But I'm pretty sure these are all going to seal. I'm hearing some good pangs. We have an amazing and delicious corned beef dinner ready for our shelves. How impressive is that? Once again, thank you so much for stopping by and spending the evening with me as we once again celebrated the Canuary Chronicles from my little vintage kitchen to yours. If you're new to my channel, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button. I do love that. I make new videos every week, and I would love for you to be part of our little community and enjoy them with me. And I want to thank you guys for explaining what my little pot was. The consensus on this pot is it is either a pasta vegetable steamer or it is a seafood pot. Either way, it was a great $3 find and it looks perfect in my little vintage kitchen. Next week is the finale for my Canuary Chronicles, and I have one more surprise up my sleeve for you. For you guys that I think you're really going to enjoy. It's a great winter recipe for those cold days, and that's what we are certainly in here in New England. Cold, cold days. So I'm looking forward to next week's recipe. I'm sad that Canuary is coming to an end, but I have to say this has been so much fun with all of you, and I have even learned a whole lot. There's so much more coming up besides Canuary. There's recipes. We have a lot of DIY projects coming up. I have some furniture makeovers I'm excited for, as well as some spruce ups to some rooms. The faux beams are getting ready to go in my dining room. I can't wait to share that with you. I love the sound. It's funny. I look forward to next week's Canuary finale at my channel. Once again, thanks so much for stopping by, and I will see you guys real soon.